Okay, let's return here to Prep Test 84, Section 3, question number 10. Which one of the following, if true, most helps to justify the hospital officials' belief? Here we go. Changes in Britain's National Health Service have led many British hospitals to end on-site laundry services for their staff. Got it. Although the water in a typical residential washing machine, unlike that in the industrial washing machines used by the hospitals, does not reach temperatures high enough to kill the dangerous bacterium, whatever. Hospital officials believe that the discontinuation of these services will not put patients at risk. And we want to help justify there will be no risk. So notwithstanding the fact that one safeguard has been taken away, which is the heat of the water, there'll be something else that will ensure that the bacteria are killed. Okay, hey, does this justify the belief? Hospital staff typically develop an immunity to the bacteria. Well, that's not helping the patients. No. B, hospital patients infected with the bacteria can be isolated. Well, that's great, die alone. C, many hospital staff made use of the on-site laundry services before they were discontinued, so that's not helping me. D, hospital staff are instructed to use clothes dryers at temperatures high enough to kill the bacteria. I mean, it's so, yeah, I mean, D's the answer, and I can't imagine you'd look at E, but okay, we'll look at E. Water in residential washing machines reaches temperatures high enough to kill all dangerous bacteria except the one you want to kill. Okay, so the answer to 10 is D for truces. 11, issue. Which of the following most accurately expresses the conclusion? Okay. Begin reading. Many newspapers have cut back on book reviews, replacing them with other features that, according to focus group research, are of greater interest to potential readers. And that's given to us as a fact. As a fact, now many newspapers have cut back on book reviews, replacing them with other features that, according to this research, are of greater interest to potential readers. Next sentence, such a move is ill-advised, and that is the argument's conclusion. So whatever words they, and I'm going to keep reading, right, but you should just stop. So the conclusion here is that taking the book reviews out of the newspaper is ill-advised. Now here comes the reasoning in support of that. Though meant to increase readership, it actually decreases readership by alienating loyal readers while catering to casual readers who are more likely to watch television than pick up a newspaper. And that final sentence is to explain why the move is ill-advised. Okay. Hey, the newspaper should not have cut back on book reviews. Yeah, I gotta go now. Whack the mole. Yes, that's the answer. No, we'll keep looking. B, many newspapers have cut back on book reviews, replacing them with other features. No, that was given to you as a fact in the first sentence. Focus group research concluded that features other than book reviews were of greater interest to potential readers. That was a fact given to you in the first sentence. And I'm sorry, that was B and C respectively. D, the move to replace book reviews with other features was meant to increase readership, but it actually decreases it. And that was given to you in the third sentence as reasoning in support of the argument's conclusion that the move is ill-advised. And E, the move to replace book reviews with other features alienates loyal readers and caters to casual readers, and that D was also part of the reasoning in support of the argument's conclusion. It's ill-advised. The answer number 11 is A, and they'll get much more straightforward than that, at least from my mind. 12. The conclusion of the doctor's argument can be properly drawn if which one of the following is assumed. So properly drawn means you put this in there and then the conclusion must be true. It's indisputable. Okay, so we have here a doctor. There will be more local cases of flu infection this year than there were last year. Well, that's a prediction. You're saying, so that to me is the argument's conclusion. You're saying there will be more local cases of flu infection this year than last. Okay, what are you giving me here in evidence? In addition to the strains of flus that were present in this area last year, a new strain has infected some people this year. Well, I mean, you don't see the answer. I mean, there's so little here. The conclusion is there are going to be more cases of flu infection. Then the only facts you have are, well, you know that flu from last year? Well, it's still here, right? In addition to the flu that we had present last year, a new strain has infected some people. Okay, so if a new strain has infected some, and you assume that we have at least as many people this year with last year's flu, in other words, the flu was here last year, right? So if you want to, you just say, well, everybody who had the flu last year gets it again this year. And then the total number has to go up because we know some people are getting it from a new flu, something like that. Okay, here you go, A. Effective approaches have been developed to deal with the strains of flu that were present last year. Well, that actually injures the conclusion that the number is going to go up. B, it is rare for new strains of flu to appear. Well, you've been told that actually the new strain has infected some people, so who cares? C, the new strain of flu cannot be addressed with the approaches used to deal with the strains of the flu that were present last year. Well, that helps, but it doesn't mean it must be true. That you can't treat the flu this year with the remedy you have from last year does mean you don't have control of, like, the new flu, right? But it doesn't say anything about the number of people who re-experience the old flu, which could fall dramatically, meaning the total number would not go up. D, the new strain of flu is expected to be more dangerous than the strains of flu that were present last year. Well, it's not really about it being dangerous. It's, it's again, you want to be a lawyer, right? So it's just not about dangers, it's about infection. How many people got infection, not whether they died from it. E, there will be no decline this year in the number of cases of flu infection due to strains that were present last year. I mean, it's so clear. So yes, easy answer. And you can't whack them all because it's too late, but if you could, you would. 13, issue. On the basis of their statements, H and M are committed to disagreeing over whether, okay, what does H say? H says, most employee strikes should be legally permitted. Got it. But strikes by university faculty are an exception. Okay, I got that too. Now tell me why. Faculty strikes harm university students, okay? And I accept the principle that an employee strike shouldn't be legally permitted if it would harm the employee's customers. Okay, well, it's kind of tough to put those two things together. Old Hendry doesn't have the best argument here, because Hendry starts off by saying most employee strikes should be legal, right? But then goes on, he accepts the principle that employee strike shouldn't be legal if it would harm the employee's customers. It seems to me most employees, employers, customers. So we have three things, right? Employee strikes, the employer, right? So his principle is that an employer's strike shouldn't be legally permitted if it would harm the employer's customers. Okay. And what does Mencken say? Mencken says, well, you know what? If your principle is correct, then contrary to what you claim, employee strikes should almost never be legal. Okay. And implicit in what Mencken is saying is, if you follow the principle to its logical resting spot, that employee strike shouldn't be legal if it would harm the employer's customers. There are an awful lot of employers who have customers, right? And in all those cases, employees should not be permitted to strike. So Mencken is just pointing out that I don't know how you go from that reasoning to your initial conclusion that most employee strikes should be legally permitted, because it's not going to happen. That can be legally permitted under your own principle. Okay, so let's see what they disagree about. A, do they disagree that a university students should be considered customers of the university? No clue. They agree or disagree on that. B, do they disagree that most employee strikes would harm the employer's customers? Absolutely. Mencken is saying, hello, wake up, smell the flowers. And Hendry doesn't. Hendry's accepting the principle, but yet in accepting the principle, he's also taking the position most employee strikes should be legally permitted. So again, I would be on B, I'd be whacking them all. Let's continue here, C. Do they disagree that strikes by university faculty should be legally permitted? Mencken doesn't really take a position one way or the other. Menken's just pointing out that your argument is kind of like, not the best. So Mencken himself is really not giving us Menken's position. Menken's just simply pointing out to Henry, you wake up and smell flowers. D, do they disagree that most employee strikes should be legally permitted? I don't know what Mencken thinks. Mencken just thinks that Henry doesn't have a reason about it. And E, faculty strikes harm a university students. I have no knowledge of whether Mencken thinks it harms them or doesn't. So with respect to question number 13, the answer is B for Brutus. Let's try 14. 14 here is which one of the following principles invalid most helps justify the reasoning in the argument. So reasoning, I'm directed to the reasoning in the argument, and I want a principle that justifies the reasoning. Okay, here goes. Most popular historical films are not documentaries. Okay, they are dramatic presentations of historical events. So stop. So I'm going to reword that and say most popular historical films are dramatic presentations of historical events. Okay. Next sentence. Such presentations, the presentations are the historical events, such presentations of historical events, if you will, cannot present the evidence for the accuracy of what they portray. They don't present the evidence. They can't present the evidence. So if you are a presentation of a historical event, you cannot present the evidence. You can't, okay. And that's where are we now? Then we go to consequently, which means we're going to the conclusion. So that was the reasoning. We're done. Consequently, uninformed viewers of dramatic historical films should not regard them as accurate portrayals of historical events. Of course they shouldn't. And the reason that they shouldn't, according to the reasoning you gave me, is because they cannot present evidence for what they portray, with the accuracy of what they portray. So let's see where we go here, but that principle's got to be based on the reasoning. You start off by saying to me, these popular historical films, what they really are a presentation of historical events. Okay, that's nice. Then what do you say? Then you say, well, when we're talking about presentation of historical events, we're talking about that, those presentations cannot present the evidence for the accuracy of what they portray. Okay, and so why do we care about that? Because then you go on to say, and because of that, consequently, right, they should not be regarded as accurate portrayal of historical events. Okay. So let's see what we have here. A, writers of historical dramas should attempt to provide their own distinctive insights into the meaning of the historical events they are portraying. I don't know what that has to do with the principle. B, historical documentaries should be careful to present all the evidence when attempting to inform their audiences about historical events. Well, perhaps they should be careful, but that's not the principle. The principle here is that when you give us a historical event, you cannot give us the evidence, and therefore, since you cannot give us the evidence, it is not an accurate portrayal. C, dramatic presentations of historical events are better suited for educational purposes if evidence supporting the accuracy of presentation is also presented. Well, maybe that's true, but nobody here is talking about educational purposes. And nobody's talking here, but if evidence, well, we're not dealing with this. We're told, right, that you cannot present the evidence for the accuracy of what's portrayed. So no. D, dramatic presentations of historical events should never sacrifice accuracy in order to tell a more entertaining story. Well, okay, that's nice, but that's not the principle. It's not that you should never, it's that you can't. You can't be accurate. And E, one should never regard a historical account to be accurate unless one has considered the evidence on which it is based, and that would be the principle. And, so 14, the answer is E, and why don't we hold there on 14.